Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. This is the equal performance divisions and this is the top tier of Tier 1. We're here for the rerun of the Japanese Grand Prix. What was meant to be round 2 but has become round 6 for this season due to a postponement earlier on this year. My name is JPH and joining me as usual in the commentary box is Bruce. Good evening, Bruce. How are you?
Yeah, good evening, JP. Yeah, looking forward to this one. It's a good circuit. It's proper old school stuff. None of this big runoff areas like you get on the more modern stuff. So yeah, it's a tricky circuit, difficult to overtake, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see how everyone sort of adapts to that tonight.
Yeah, I say a very classic circuit with very little runoff, and most of the time, one small mistake, that's the end of your qualifying lap, and 9 times out of 10 in the race, you do tend to go round, and it's a lot of positions lost. So consistency and accuracy is probably more key than pace in this round.
Yeah, definitely, and I think because of how tricky it is to overtake around the circuit, I think you'll find qualifying is probably far more important than other circuits where you can battle through. We've seen recently with Malc was qualified a bit lower last couple of races than he'd have normally have expected to, and I think if he was to do that again tonight, it would be a lot more of a challenge trying to make his way through to try and take that victory.
Absolutely. I was going to see if we can get an invite to JP911 because I've just seen he's left. I don't know if he is back in. That's good news there. And I'm just going to adjust the mix. I think it was a little bit too much in favour of the game. But we do have Keza as the first man on track, followed by Ashtube. Ashtube on a set of medium, so obviously he's just testing the waters on that, although normally with the way the game is now, and the fact that your fastest qualifying time for a few years now, you can just start on whatever tyre you want, rather than if you come in the top 10, the tyre you set your fastest lap on. It's surprising that drivers still take those mediums out in qualifying when really you probably want to save them in case you get like a sort of a late safety car, but not quite late enough for softs.
Yeah, again, I think sometimes a lot depends on how much maybe practice some of the guys have had a chance to do. Maybe it's just that extra chance to get a few more laps in on those medium tyres before you head into the race. But yeah, definitely, I think it's always handy to have a couple of sets of fresh mediums in the race. So yeah, I mean, yeah, a strange one, but I'm sure these guys have their reasons for doing it. They don't tend to tell us though, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're going ball with Keza for the first flying lap of the session. So here we go around the infamous figure 8 circuit of Suzuka. Turn 1 absolutely flat, down and gear for Keza, just get the front to bite, ready for turn 2. Then into the S's, 3, 4, just gradually making your way down the gears. As you then head through 6 and then 7 in the Dunlop curve, and he's taken too much curb in the Dunlop curve and round the back end goes. So we'll go to Ashtube instead, who is just coming through the S's himself. Dunlop curve he goes, runs it a little open, keeps the steering wheel open, keep the pace. Into Degner 1 then, drop a gear, use as much curb as you dare, then into Degner 2. Again, you want to use the curb but not too much because the car will spin out. Up to the hairpin, flat right, nail the brakes, down to second. Careful on the throttle as you exit here because the rears will spin up with the way the camber and elevation is. Flat through turn 12 and then up to spooning. 2 corner double apex. I mean, most people think of this as 1 corner with 2 apexes, but it's down as 2 in the map. 4th gear on the exit again, you use curb on the outside to open up the steering and get as much speed as you can down this back straight towards the infamous 130R, absolutely pinned in the cars of nowadays, and down to the Casio triangle to pretty much end the lap. Keza's on a 137.6, we know that's not the best time he's capable of, out of the Casio chicane, triangle we go, and it's 129.7 for Ash Tube on a set of mediums. It's not a horrible time, but we know the softs will be quicker than that.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of that, Gattuso just coming up through the final chicane now. He's about 1.2 seconds up at the moment on Ash Tube's time, so it's going to be an easy provisional pole here for the Aston Martin driver. And yeah, 28.7, but still, that's not a huge margin to Ash Tube's time on the mediums.
Destiny puts in a 28.5. We've got a McLaren of Sydney coming up. He goes second with a 28.7. One thing I do wonder is how many of the drivers are going for a double run on the soft tyres. It's something we've talked about this season as Brando comes to the line. A 31.3, that's not a good time from the Red Bull. And he's not going on to another lap either straight away, so hopefully he's got enough fuel to go for a cool down and go again. But yeah, something we have spoken about this season, Bruce, is the option in this year's game to have almost like 2 installation laps as Louis goes fastest. 2 installation laps before your flying lap.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the options there. We haven't really seen that many people take advantage of it, to be honest. I think Bjorn Borg just up to third. They're great to see Bjorn back as well. I think he's not raced this season with us, I believe, so it's good to have him back. But the option is there. But again, I don't think many. Oh, big slide there for Ryan on his coming out of Spoon. But not too many people have taken advantage of it, I don't think.
Right, just coming up to a weaving. Oh, that is close. I think that was got spooked. That was very close. It wouldn't surprise me if that ends up in the stewards, because I'm sure Ryan would have had a little bit of a hesitation coming up to 130R there.
Yeah, definitely not what you're looking for, especially coming up to a corner such as 130R. But yeah, the got spooked just about getting out of the way in time. I'm not entirely sure if that was intentional getting out of the way or just pure luck that he was out of the way at that particular point. But interesting. Joe and JP seem to be having issues with connectivity, unfortunately, so I will continue and try and get them back in.
No ideal for those two then. But currently, Louis at 28.253 sits at the top of the tree. Got spooked currently on his first flying lap. Obviously, we did have a few penalties last time out. Keza stating it's a great start for him. I'm wondering why he continued, because we didn't really see any damage because we kind of swapped over to Ash Tube. So, but Keza likes a delta in the top right corner for his following laps, and we've got Zexify Designs in the chat supporting Bjorn de Bauer, of which I've probably completely mashed his name up there, but I'm sure we'll get corrected at some point. Got a spook though. 111 at the second split into the Casio triangle. It's going to be a 28.075 and provisional pole for the Red Bull driver.
Yeah, good stuff there. Got spooked. Obviously, nearly that very near miss on the previous lap. Great stuff from him. It'd be interesting to see now. Merckx is on an in lap at the moment. Gattuso, I think, is on a flying lap, so currently at the moment 3 tenths down on his best time now, so I think he's going to struggle to improve on his current 7th place. He's 2 seconds down, so yeah, he's pulled out of that one as well. So I think we may be in a bit of a lull in proceedings. Oh, big slide for Ryan there on what I believe might be an in lap, but if it's not, I think it's about to become one.
He is running hot lap at the moment as Joe Hamster keeps hitting the ejector button seat. Can't seem to stay in that spring-loaded car. But it looks like Ryan is going to continue on with this lap at the moment. He is using a bit of overtake, bit of hot lap, either that or he's just using this as a bit of practice for future laps. Kick Sauber through Spoon and down towards 130R. I'm pretty certain at the moment Bruce trying to get Joe back into the session. Right, only a 10th down on his current best time. So we head into the triangle for his latest attempt. He will carry on, keep it to the inside for the shortest run to the line. A 29.345 doesn't improve, but I think the pace is there for Ryan.
Well, yeah, it's consistent if nothing else, but yeah, a bit of a shame that, you know, wasting really always just invalidated this lap as well. I'm unsure if this is an attempt for a second lap anyway, but yeah, shame for Ryan. Obviously, he's used those tyres now, and they'll be set pretty much ready for the bin, and no improvement off the back of them. So yeah, a bit of a shame. Sydney, I think, just starting a flying lap, and I think Malc is on his second flying lap as well.
We've also got Ashtube coming up to finish his second attempt. So 1:12.3, 7/10 quicker at the moment on his current time. So he's looking at a 29 flat. Through the final chicane he goes. Two kicks, however, occupying the fifth row of the grid. It is a 28.960 for Ashtube. Just misses out on 8th place for now.
Yeah, Sydney, great opening sector, but he's invalidated through the first Degner. Absolutely huge moment going through it. Lucky to stay on the road, but yeah, unfortunately for him, he's going to have to recharge, go around for another lap now after that invalidation.
Brando Camalengo, he's in a bit of a sticky situation this week. He picked up 15 seconds worth of penalties last week because he DNF'd. Those penalties carry over, so he's kind of like starting this race 15 seconds behind everyone, which is never a nice place to be. So qualifying is going to be absolutely vital for him in this race.
Malc abandons his lap, so he's going the pits. Yeah, big shame for Brando that he's carrying that over. But yeah, he's found himself in an awkward place last couple of times with qualifying. He's not qualified up where you'd expect him to be, and I think that's sort of maybe partly then contributed to the dramas he's had in the race, you know, trying to fight through the pack. You know, we know he's got that front running pace, but it's just not quite gone well for him the last couple of weeks.
Here's Keza. Does put in a more competitive time, but it's a 29.6 and it still puts him at the back of all the people with lap times available. And I do see a Ferrari on the move. I don't know if that's going to be Joe or Louis. Depends if Joe is on his way back out. But Brando, we are looking at the moment with his current flying lap. And the Red Bull driver, he's not actually using any ERS, so I'm not quite certain. I wonder if he's made a mistake on this attempt as well, because he didn't use a lot of ERS on his last lap. I've just seen Ashtube go into the back of JP in the pits. Looks like JP's car just suddenly stopped on the pit entry line, where you get clocked for your speed, and it's actually a little bit lucky that the game hasn't decided to give him a 5-place penalty for that. So either that or there's a little bit of lag in with JP. And we know he's had a little bit of trouble with staying in the session.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on the latter calls there. I think it is just a little bit of lag going on there with JP's connection. Potentially Scopefield currently improving on his best lap. 2 tenths up at the first sector. Looking maybe to put himself up in the top 5 at the moment, but we'll see as he comes up now. So he's 3 tenths up, so he is potentially going to get 5th, maybe 6th, around that sort of region, which I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with heading in towards the last set of runs.
Up to the line comes the Alpine driver, and it is 6th fastest for now, 128.740. So he lost a little bit of time in that final sector. It's a very short sector, that final sector, but ultimately you can lose a lot of time there just not quite getting the chicane right.
Yeah, exactly. The heavy braking zone into that chicane is vital. And Gattuso just over 10th up as well, so he could now get past Scopefielder if he gets this right. Seems a bit steady through the chicane now, and obviously not happy with that. He was the 10th up at the second sector, but obviously not comfortable with what he did after that.
Beyond de Boer across the line, he does improve his time, and he is now into 4th place with the Williams. Obviously, it is worth noting the reason there's a Williams up in 4th and RB in 5th, because this is equal performance. All the cars are the same, regardless of what team name they are It's almost a little bit like F2. Same car, different liveries.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting it's unusual currently in F1 to see a Red Bull in first as well. So, yeah, it levels it out for everyone. It's great. It's all down to the driver and a little bit of setup sometimes, but it's mostly driver, isn't it? But yeah, it's great. It's a great leveler, provides great racing, and yeah, it's nice to sometimes see a nice sort of colourful grid sometimes.
I mean, it gets even colourful when you get different types of tyres. I mean, cast my memory back, I think a couple of seasons ago, to an Austrian race where I think we had almost every team and every compound of tyre on the circuit as well, including wet compounds of tyre. So very colourful times in IRL.
We've got our early outlappers at the moment in Destiny, JP, and Ryan. It looks like I think JP is going to be the first one to set a lap. Joe Hampshire's retired from the session, so I assume maybe I don't know. Maybe he's feeling his connection's not good enough, or he's feeling that he's better off just not bothering trying to qualify and hope that his connection lasts for the race. But yeah, we'll see what the thinking is behind that. But yeah, JP just coming up towards the line to start his lap.
Yeah, interesting you say that about Joe as well, as where his connection holds up for the race, because last week he was a lap down, but he still managed to get 2 points by just finishing the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It is key sometimes to just keep going. You just never really know, and that'll be the case tonight. Only 14 drivers currently in the race, and tonight. So yeah, a good chance to score points just from perseverance, really.
Well, with JP 911 then through the S's through Dunlop. He is 3/10 up on his best time so far. I reckon there's still some more time to be found here for JP. He's just got to hook up the rest of the lap into the hairpin. Down through turn 12 and up towards Spoon. I mean, none of these sectors are easy, but that first sector is definitely the hardest in terms of potential for spinning. And then this second sector is all, apart from the hairpin, is all about commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially through the exit of the S's, that gives you the run then up to Degner 1, Degner 2. Speaking of that, I mean, Destiny's nearly through till he's a quarter of a second up on his best time at sector 1, but he's just had a huge slide through Degner 1 with the McLaren in front of him. So McLaren just about getting out of the way in time, but may have slightly distracted the Racing Bull driver. And Sydney is out the session. At the hairpin.
I'm not quite sure what's happened there. JP has improved his time, but hasn't improved his position. Who have we got?
Sydney's car is continuing on down the road without him in it, so yeah, I'm not quite exactly sure what's happened there.
Yeah, very weird. Destiny up to the line he comes. Goes fourth quickest now, 28.4. Bjorn de Boer, where is he? Bjorn isn't going to get a lap here. And this could present issues in itself. Because the AI is going to take over that car, and Destiny just makes sure he gets out of the way of everyone starting a lap. Louis has invalidated his latest attempt, so he won't be going any quicker. Merck has not long started his lap. Who's going to be the next across the line? I think it's going to be Ashtu is the next person to post a qualifying time in the number 12, Kick Salbert. You see him hustling the car through the middle of Spoon, trying to get the car turned in for that second part. Slightly off camber is the second part of Spoon, so getting the front turn in to get the throttle back on early is crucial as we go through 130R up towards the chicane. What can Ashtu do? It's a 128.5, puts him sixth quickest.
Yeah, it's great stuff from the kick driver. Brandon Camalango goes top of the timesheets. but Gotspoot looks like he's going to overtake that lap. It's going to be very tight. However, coming just behind them, and this could be short-lived now for the Red Bulls, Merck is a big chunk up at the second sector. This is going to be pole.
It's going to be pole, and it's definitely pole. A 127.325, 6/10 clear of anyone. I mean, we know how dominant Merck is, but that, I mean, just displays it in one single lap, just how dominant he is within this Tier 1 class at the moment.
Yeah, that was pretty special. I saw it at Sector 1, he was 3/10 up, and I thought, yeah, okay, this could be close, and then saw the time at Sector 2, and I was like, okay, this is pretty much nailed on now, and yeah, the commitment must have been pretty special through Degner 1 and 2. Didn't get a chance to see it, but and obviously, you know, it's a big middle sector, so you've also got the hairpin and the spoon curve as well, so yeah, I'm guessing he pretty much nailed that as good as you could possibly get.
And it's a good thing for him at the moment, because obviously his closest championship rival, JR Lattis, not here tonight. So this is a really good chance for Merckx. I mean, we normally have those two battling up the front, potentially with like Brando and Gotspook there in the mix. So almost circuit dependent, but with Lattis not here, that does take us a slight challenger away from Merckx.
Yes, it definitely, and you know, it gives them a good chance to get a bigger gap now on the guys that are following behind. But yeah, pole position for Merckx in Mercedes, with the Red Bulls have Gotspoot and Brando Camerlengo second and third, Louis in fourth with Destiny fifth, Gattuso an excellent sixth, with Beyond Boer seventh, Ashtube in eighth, Skipfield in ninth, Sydney 10th, JP 11th, Ryan 12th, Keza 13th, and Joe Hamster 14th after issues with the connection.
In the chair we've got Cade Mackay supporting JP 911. He's got a little bit of a challenge on his hands as JP. Not the best qualifying we've seen from him, but as we know, Bruce, it's not always about qualifying.
No, exactly. You know, especially on a circuit like very overcast conditions. Well, I think it's dry, but it is very, very cloudy. Not sure if anyone's got any weather updates for us heading into the race. But yeah, it's anything could happen right here. It's very easy to just make that one small mistake, and you can drop right down the field. But yeah, Merckx is in an excellent position, especially with that pace he's just shown in qualifying. If he can keep that going in the race, could be a little bit one-sided tonight. But fingers crossed that's not the case, and the other guys can match his pace during the race.
Yeah, just looking at that pit lane where all the pit boxes are, it's a good job the drivers don't have to actually control the wheel spin coming out of the pit box, because that looks very, very shiny and almost gripless there.
Shiny tar in the pit lane, probably not exactly what you want, but yeah, it does look interesting. It did actually confuse me. I did think it was wet there for a second, but unfortunately not. But yeah, it's a strange choice, but yeah, it could be interesting to see now, especially what the likes of Joe Hamster can do from the back of the grid, if he does manage to do the race okay without too many connection issues. Brando Camerlengo, as you said, with that massive penalty coming into this race, be interested to see if he can try and gap people enough that he still scores good points tonight.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, obviously, with the two Red Bulls here, the two Mercs, obviously the Red Bulls maybe looking to capitalise a little bit on JP not having such a strong qualifying. I can't remember off the top of my head what the constructor standings are, but I don't think it's massively. I don't think it's too tight, but the Red Bulls do have a chance of closing the gap to Mercedes.
Absolutely, I will just double check that a minute while I'm here. I was on there just a second ago. But yeah, Constructors' Championship. It's Ferrari are actually in second at the moment in Tier 1, 33 points behind. But yeah, obviously Joe having the issues tonight. Louis up there, but yeah, Louis will need that backup from Joe to try and close that gap themselves to Mercedes. But yeah, I mean, as you say, Red Bull not actually that far behind Ferrari themselves, so is a good chance, as you say, for them to try and catch the Red Bull team, the Mercedes team. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see exactly what happens. We know JP's got good pace normally during the race, so yeah, I don't think it's going to be too one-sided, and luckily everyone seems to be getting off the grid.
There's a good sign. Looks like Joe very late off the grid. So he may need to catch up to the back of the pack. And it also looks like JP has had a slight issue on getting away from the box on the formation lap. But looking at tyres, we have a very... Oh, Kez has now left the session. This is going well tonight for F1 24. But yeah, looking at the tyres, we've got a nice little split here. 14 drivers and... Oh,
Merckx was now gone as well.
I wonder if we're going to get a new lobby.
There's the McLaren
Yes,
of Sydney goes off into... Oh, and we've got a JP sideways in the road. And yeah, this is all a bit chaotic, isn't it? So yeah, big shame, unfortunately. Not the first time this has happened on any previous iterations of Formula 1. So yeah, hopefully this will not take too long and we'll just get going.
Yeah, so for anyone who has just joined, we are having a few issues with the lobby. There will be a fresh new lobby set up, race only, obviously with the grid set by qualifying. I mean, about the only problem really now is with a restart, the lobby then gets set up with the... as people seem to have a little bit of fun on this formation lap before the new lobby gets set. Yeah, the biggest problem is obviously the lobby weather now gets set to the closest thing to what the lobby has. Which means no weather changes, no dynamic weather. So we're probably going to be in for a dry race.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, I suppose, but as you say, you've kind of got to call it on the conditions that you have initially at the start of the race. So, yeah, fingers crossed, we're going to get a dry race, and hopefully no lobby glitches once we get going again. At the moment, it appears though Destiny Gattuso still in. Having a little bit of practice in this little lobby at the moment.
I would at this point say we're green at the Japanese Grand Prix, but we're not. This is purely a couple of people getting some practice starts going in. And got spooked, the first unofficial retirement of the night. Hopefully we'll get through the invites very shortly for the new session. A very short practice Japanese Grand Prix there.
Yeah, fantastic race there. Is that it? Do we go now? No. Yeah, it was... they didn't hang around too long in that, did they, before they moved? So yeah, hopefully we can get going pretty quick. Hopefully Joe or Merck to work in their magic, getting this lobby set up nice and quickly, and we can crack on. Interesting in the driver standings at the moment as well. Obviously, we know Merck does a pretty sizable lead after the first few races, or 4 races this season. Sorry, 5 races this season. He has a 38-point lead, pretty much, ahead of JR Lattis. As you say, he's not here tonight. Louis is actually in 3rd, so a good chance tonight for Louis to maybe get up to 2nd in the standings. Got Spooked is not very far behind him, only a couple of points behind the Ferrari driver. After that, Keza, who's actually a reserve, currently in 5th at the moment, so he's doing great. Just consistent finishing is paying dividends for him. And Scopefielder himself, he's not done many races this season, but he is in 6th as well. So yeah, a few guys here that are reaping the rewards from just getting some solid finishes, and yeah, it's enough to get them up the leaderboard.
So we're just getting through the invites for the new lobby. All the drivers will come in, the grid will be set up, and we will get going once again. And the problem is, this race has to go ahead. They don't really have much in the way of more postponements available to them, shall we say?
No, definitely. As you say, we had to postpone this one earlier on the season. We obviously had to run a shorter length race in Singapore as well, which was a big shame, but it was kind of necessity. And yeah, we don't really want this overhanging too long. This race, obviously, it'd be nice to get out of the way and get it back on a par with Tier 2 and RP as well. So we're not waiting constantly for Tier 1 to catch up. So yeah, as you say, it's got to go ahead. And fingers crossed, as we say, it will do so very shortly.
The drivers come in. I think we've got another 2 left, which one of them is going to be Joe. Just looking down the list, I think is one of the Red Bulls, Brando, I think. He's the one left to arrive. Bruce, obviously, whilst we're waiting, let's talk tyres and strategy. We saw initially whether that's going to be the same coming into this race. A nice mixture of hard tyres and medium tyres to start this race. Now, being an old school circuit, most people would start on the medium just in case of that early safety car.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a risk to go on a harder compound tyre, and then, as you say, an early safety car, it kind of gives everyone else a free pit stop on you, unless you come in and change to a softer tyre and try and gap them. But yeah, strategies are always an interesting topic, and we often say, this is what we would do, but it's surprising how often people do things differently and have different sort of thought processes on how the race will pan out or how they think it's going to pan out. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. I mean, I'd like to say safety cars in theory less likely to come out with Tier 1, but we had quite a few last week in Las Vegas. So yeah, who knows? It's really impossible to know until the race gets going.
Yeah, I mean, I think about the only strategy, for us that really I've got right this season is when I accidentally done a full race practice distance round here in Japan. But I guess that's a sort of practice some of these guys will be doing to get the information on their own strategies.
Yeah, definitely. It's the guys who practice the most are often the ones who sort of reap the benefits of it at the end of the night. We're normally very much the opposite with our practice strategies, you put the time in, you do gain from it. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what sort of potential scenarios they've all sort of practiced, and I wouldn't be surprised to see, with the gap that Merck had, I wouldn't be surprised to see him try something a little bit different. He's got a habit of doing it sometimes, is that he'll maybe go for a 2-stop or something if he feels he can, just to try and 100% bag that fastest lap at the end of the race as well. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how he approaches it with what seems like quite a significant pace advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember back for nearly a month now from when we done our race around here in Japan, and if I remember correctly, we had a couple of safety cars. And obviously, I ended the race on soft tyres. Most people ended on mediums. I think I done something like 8 laps on the softs, and they weren't very pretty at the end. I mean, they done the job, but they're not probably not the best race tyre. So maybe if there's no safety cars, a hard to medium strategy could be a better pick, because the hards are not very nice around this circuit.
No, exactly. yeah, I would. Some people will, I think, maybe try softs towards the end of the race. Um, but yeah, as you say, it's really difficult to know exactly what everyone's thinking going into this. But I mean, yeah, hard to medium, medium to hard. You'd have to think that's going to be the two preferred strategies in tonight's race. And luckily, we have a countdown. So we're about to head back to Japan, I believe.
To some degree, I'm kind of hoping we don't have the formation lap on, because obviously that's an extra lap on top. But I think we will be having it on. I mean, it's a topic of conversation, the formation lap, because I don't think it necessarily works properly in this game, in the fact that I don't think the tyres actually warm up and you don't start the race with warm tyres from what you've done. However, you do get obviously a little bit of freedom of how you park the car on the grid. So just like real life, you can have your car angled towards sort of the inside line for the first corner and try and gain that track position.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, as you say, the formation lap, it's hard to know whether 100% it does what it's supposed to do. But I think the jury's out on a little bit. But yeah, it can be essential, and obviously, getting that grid position as well, right, can make a big difference. Obviously, the other end of that as well is that if you don't quite park up correctly, it does drop you back a little bit, I believe, from where you'd normally be if you've got an okay position on the grid. So, yeah, it adds a little bit of extra sort of tactics into it, and can make the difference on that run down to turn one.
So yes, everyone is getting their strategy sorted. I think they'll probably be given maybe an extra minute or so on top of the usual 2-3 minutes of strategy time to enable that they've got their setup back on the car, because being a fresh lobby, they'll have to put their setups back onto their cars. Obviously, we've known in the past some people haven't put their setup back on and they've had a bit of a difficult race. I mean, ultimately, though, everyone should get their setups back on. And they can make a couple of tweaks now, because let's face it, you can't control that when you have a fresh lobby.
No, exactly. It's the same for everyone. No, everyone's in the same boat, aren't they? With that lobby restart, obviously it's not ideal, but it's still very much a level playing field. I mean, what it does do is if people weren't too happy with how their car felt in qualifying, they could maybe tweak the setup a little bit, which obviously in the interest of sportsmanship, you'd think they maybe wouldn't do that, but let's be honest, I think most people would still try and tweak it a little bit if they weren't happy. But the risk of that is obviously you've not had sort of the time to practice with that slight sort of change in setup. So yeah, it could backfire if you chose to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we know, changing setups, they'll go one of either way. Whether it'll either end up quite nice or really, really bad. And as you say, you definitely don't want to go the wrong direction with it.
No, exactly, and you can confuse yourself a little bit. I mean, on a personal note, when we did Spain earlier on the season, I couldn't settle on a setup going into qualifying, and ended up with a sort of a Frankenstein's monster of about five different setups going into the race, so into the qualifying. So yeah, it wasn't ideal, and that's a risk you do run of doing that late change without really having to practice on it.
So we once again go for the formation lap here for the Japanese Grand Prix, and it looks like everyone's gone for the same strategy they went for in the first attempt at this Grand Prix. We do have 6 runners on the hard tyres, 8 runners on the medium. And it's interesting that in reality they're pretty well split between front and back. Most of the back runners looking to go longer on the hard tyres, and the front runners looking to build that gap and almost try and undercut those behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Gattuso on the first hard shod runner in 6th. You'd expect him to maybe drop back a couple of places over the first couple of laps, definitely, and maybe be at the head of the group of hard tyre runners. Interesting to see JP and Sydney have been disqualified, so they're sat on the start line. interesting to see Joe Hamster go for the medium tyres. Don't know whether or not that's the right choice from that position on the grid, but maybe Joe hoping to make up a few places early doors and get through those hard shod runners in front of him.
Yeah, I wonder with Joe whether he's thinking try and make up a few places and then undercut some more places as well by starting sort of coming in earlier, grabbing the fresher hard tyres for his second stint of the race. He obviously must think he's got a pretty decent amount of pace in that car. As you see, obviously Sydney and JP already on the grid. That must mean they had a collision together for them to be disqualified from the formation lap. Doesn't mean they're disqualified from the race. They will start the race. Their continuation of the formation lap, however, was terminated, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely. As you say, they'll still be allowed to partake in the race, which is good. A bit harsh if you ruined your evening on the formation lap. But
and look at the angle Merck has decided to go on pole position.
That's very defensive. Up here on the board doesn't quite get his parking right, so he's going to start slightly back of his grid box. But yeah, here we go. Interesting to see how this pays off for Merck off the line.
So we're going to have the 5 red lights, and we are racing at the Japanese Grand Prix. And it's a good start from Got Spooked. The defensive manoeuvre from Merck has not worked, and here comes Brando around the outside. Up through turn 1, and Merck has been swallowed up by the Red Bulls. Further back, we've got Destiny and Louis going side by side through 2. Looks like Louis is just going to hold on as we head through the S's for the first time. Gattuso holding on to 6th place for now from Bjorn de Boer. We've got Sydney going round. He's round and around. But other than that, we are now line astern through the S's and Dunlop. And it's a fairly clean getaway, other than the spin of Sydney.
Yeah, didn't say there was contact, but he's avoided.
Side by side between JP and Joe Hamster through Degner 1. That is brave between the pair. Joe Hamster running off wide. I can't see any damage, but Kez is going to pick up a position. Is that? Oh no, he's not. He's gone all over the curb. Back end stepping out is a great piece of car control to save that and not hit anyone else. But now he loses that place to Schofield. And a little bit of an interesting one, as I got a feeling JP may be releasing Joe Hamster there from the bold move he had at Degner 1.
Yeah, Merck with a massive moment on the exit of Spoon. He's dropped back from the 2 Red Bull slightly now under pressure from Louis. But yeah, that all stemmed from Joe Hamster having a massive moment at the top of the S's. It bunched everyone up, and yeah, luckily, I think Brando got spooked, changing positions there for the lead.
Yeah, they were going side by side into the chicane. They need to work together here because now Merck's right back on them. Brando leads across the line onto lap 2 of 27. And Merck looking to the outside of Spook through turn 1. Not quite going to work as he goes through 2. Can he get a switch on 2? No, he can't. JP and Joe Hamster. JP getting that move done and now losing 2 places. As he runs a bit wide, or Schofield are not quite able to take advantage of the wide running Merck.
Yeah, we've got a yellow flag. I think Sydney has gone round again on the exit of turn 2. So yeah, disaster so far for the McLaren driver. Did say he was having steering issues.
And JP's had an issue as well.
Yeah, he's gone round, hasn't he? And
he's front wing damage.
He has damage. Yeah, so that's a disaster for JP there. He's gone absolutely sailing off at Degner 1. But yeah, he's going to have to come in and change that wing, and that's not a good start, especially when you started the race on those hard tyres.
What is quite impressive at the moment is Gattuso. He's fending off Bjorn de Boer here. See Gattuso on those hard compound tyres, and he's not. I tell you, if he can use a bit of DRS here, he's going to stay within DRS of the top 5, which is going to help him in his calls against Bjorn.
Yeah, definitely, especially if the guys in front start to fight a little bit. You know, we always know if you can hold on to the group in front on those hard tyres, that come the end of the race, you're going to be in a very good position. But he's made a small mistake there, and that is Bjorn de Boer down the inside of him.
And
he could be under pressure from Ashtube.
Here comes Got Spooked, and here comes Merckx as well. Looks to the inside of the Red Bull. Can't quite find it. The Red Bull is doing well here to keep the Mercedes at bay. Scopefielder gets past Joe Hamster for 10th place. further up, we've got this train of 5 heading through the S's, and if
Destiny.
Destiny,
Massive moment for Destiny. Huge moment. Very, very well held, but yeah, he's dropped off the back of the group in front. But I think he'll catch them pretty quick because they look like they're going to start sort of slowing each other a little bit now. And yeah, he's already gained a couple of tenths on them just through Degner 1 and 2. So yeah, bit of a moment there for Destiny, but managed to hold on. And Sydney again, I think, has spun.
Yeah, they've done a lot by the looks of it, but with this leading group. And I don't know how much it affects in this game, but obviously we do get told by the in-game engineer about sitting behind cars, getting that sort of like understeer, and in real life obviously when you do that you scrub the tyres, you actually cause more wear, and I don't know how effective that is in this game, but with this train of 4 and Destiny just holding on to it, it looks like Brando is looking down the inside of his teammate. It's going to be interesting to see how the tyres fare, especially if Merc can't get past these Red Bulls. Although it looks like this is going to be a formality. Little bit of closeness between the pair as Brando looks to go down the inside. And the Red Bull's doing a good job of blocking up the track. And Merck's suffering in that dirty air.
Yeah, as we said pre-race, this circuit is very difficult to get past. At the best of times, if you've got the two Red Bulls working together like that, basically creating a moving wall in front of him, there's really nowhere he can get past. He's relying on a big mistake from one of them in front. At the moment, they're working brilliant as a team. So to make this as hard as they possibly can for the Mercedes, I think the one thing that they will be aware of is...
Joe Hamster is out. And we have a safety car at Dunlop Curve. I don't know what happened there. It looks like contact with Keza. And unfortunately, Joe's car has already been pulled away as I was on board with Sydney trying to see what might have potentially happened. But there's damage to Keza's car. And it does make me wonder, is that penalty from potentially Joe losing it and Keza having nowhere to go? Because we know the game likes to dish out that type of penalty.
Yeah, definitely it does do that. I was on the receiving end of one in Austria, so yeah, it's unfortunately a strange one. Without actually seeing what happened, we couldn't really sort of say for definite whether that's likely to get rescinded. I think the big problem here for Keza is I think he'll actually end up, when he comes in the pits, serving that 10-second penalty, so there'll be nothing he can do about it. But I mean, in his current position anyway, you could probably get rid of it. Brando Camelango in the pits, as well as Merck, and they're all coming in. They're all coming in the pits, except for Got Spooked, Beyond the Bar, Ashu, Kutuso, and Ryan. So yeah, most of the front runners in for hard tyres already.
And Keza in the pits. I think this is a wise move, this, from Keza. Come in the pits now. So, I mean, it means he's going to be on a 2-stop, because he'll have to come back in, I think, for another set of mediums. But he'll get rid of this 10-second penalty under safety car, so it won't be too much of a hindrance to him.
Yeah, especially as well, Sydney's coming behind as well anyway, so he won't drop any positions from where he is. As you say, ditches that penalty, gets back on an even footing with everyone else. Much better than trying to ditch that penalty, obviously, during race conditions, which he'd have had no choice but to do so. But yeah, let's just change it a little bit. Obviously, Got Spooked and Brando being so close, they couldn't both come in. They'd have had to have double stacked. Having said that, that may have been a better option, potentially, than sitting behind a safety car, unless Got Spooked fancies his chances now of creating a bit of a gap from the guys behind him, and hope that he can come in for some hards a little bit later in the race.
Yeah, I think the hards will go the rest of the distance, but they won't be pretty come the end of it. So I wonder if that's what Got Spooked is kind of working on. As you say, build a gap now to try and give himself as little time to catch back up later in this race. Because you have to go on the assumption that there will not be another safety car.
Yeah, definitely. You can't rely on there being safety cars. Obviously, we've had this one already tonight at lap 4. That one came out, but yeah, safety cars do breed safety cars, but maybe not so much around a circuit like this. But you know, there is a chance it could happen. But yeah, as you say, the hard tyre runners, yeah, pushing it to get to the end. But you know, I'm sure they've maybe had a look at these scenarios already pre-race, and they sort of know what they're in for now towards the latter stages.
So, on the safety car, on to lap 6 of 27.
Scopefielder in the pit, so he's unusually decided to come in once behind the safety car, so he's going to drop quite a way back down the field now, if not actually to the back. No, JP is in the pit, so I wonder what whether JP's thinking go back to the hards.
He is going back to the hards. That's an interesting strategy from the Mercedes.
I mean, it's basically a free stop, and those tyres are now only 1 lap older than the guys in front, so you know, that's not really actually that bad an idea from the Mercedes driver. It means he's going to leapfrog quite a few people in front. It just depends how spread out they get at that point, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that one pays off. For those that have just joined the live stream tonight, this is the Invictus Racing League Tier 1, round number 6 from the Japanese Grand Prix. This was originally scheduled to be round number 2, but got postponed earlier this season. Hence the reason it's the only race this week in IRL. And we are under safety car after an incident between Joe Hamster and Keza. We don't know what happened. All we know is Keza ended up getting a 10-second penalty from the game, which he has served in the pits. So whether that is actual contact between the pair or just an unlucky wrong place, wrong time situation, we will hopefully find out in the coming sort of minutes and race. But I would suspect we're due the safety car in now, Bruce.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. That the whole pack has now caught up to the back of the field, yeah, Godspeed does seem to be aiming for that, and there we go. Late safety car, cool. We have had that. I believe on our Tier 2 race, we had a few late ones around here, so not unusual to see that at the circuit. Obviously, the third sector does start around that area, so kind of in line with what the game does. But yeah, when does Godspeed go? Can he drop the 2 or 3 guys behind him?
Here's the question. The safety car disco light in the top left. And, oh, that's not a good restart from Godspeed. He leaked the rears up, and it's going to give Beyond the Boa a chance. But it looks like it's sort of semi-work because Gattuso's had an awful getaway behind. He's only a second behind Ashtube.
Yeah, I do wonder whether a few of the guys were a bit nervous. Maybe they saw him have the slide and backed out, thinking he was going to lose control of the car. When an excellent save from Godspeed, not an ideal restart as such, but yeah, as you say, he kind of gapped the guys behind a little bit, and yeah, gives them a little bit of leeway for the chasing back.
Remember, Merckx is the first of the pit stoppers in the list of drivers. The question is, can he make his way through this pack and start gaining on Godspeed? He's going to have a tough time of it against Ryan, because Ryan, we know, is a very good defensive driver. And in reality, he doesn't really have a lot to lose at this point in the championship. Merckx does have a championship lead, even though we're only halfway through. We are halfway through, so he does now have to start thinking championship, and do I want to risk losing the points?
Yeah, we know what Merck's like there. He's a good racer. He'll want to try and get that, you know, a podium at a minimum, as Gattuso runs very, very wide at the exit of Spoon. Yeah, he's going to want to get through. I think he kind of has that, you know, knowledge that actually the guys in front all still have to pit, and he doesn't. So there's no real pressure on the Mercedes driver to overtake. What he doesn't want to do is get embroiled in a fight with guys behind as well.
Brando Camalango is making some moves as well. I have the feeling he didn't have a good restart, because I think he should have been ahead of Merckx, obviously, as he had a poor pit stop. Meanwhile, Ryan going past the Aston Martin. Here comes Merckx to follow, wasting no time with an open door invitation.
Yeah, definitely. That's Ryan providing the path there for Merckx behind him. Gattuso tried to hang out as much as he could around the outside, but kind of knew that was the game was up there a little bit, and just tucked back in behind the Mercedes. Kind of what he's got to do now is kind of just stick with the guys in front and see where it takes him later in the race.
Oh, very wide from Lou through Degner 1. And he's wide through Degner 2, and that's going to give Keza the place, along with Sydney. Louis is really struggling on these hard compound tyres. You have to feel he's going to be hoping for another safety car at some point in this race so he can ditch those tyres and get some mediums back on that car, where he looked the most comfortable. And it looks like Brando Camalango looking down the inside of that spoon, but not quite enough overlap to make the move possible. And you have to feel with Brando, he has to seize this at the moment, with Merckx tucked up behind Ryan, but it won't be for long because of the DRS coming up. In fact, actually, scrap that, he's going to do it at 130R.
Yeah, good move from Merckx there. Just had the run up there into the corner, and yeah, he's making his way through this pack quite nicely at the moment as a Mercedes driver. And as you say, Brando not being able to follow him through, it's advantage Merckx at the moment. And I think Brando's just dropped behind Destiny as well.
He has, and Bjorn Boer has gone to the front of the pack. Oh, that was close between Gattuso and Destiny. Is still close. There's more contact, and that's an end plate gone from the RB. Gattuso pushed out wide, and I don't think that RB's going to have much front end grip. As Brando gets back into 6th place, but it's cost him a little bit of time. And Destiny, I think this plan of his, I think he's got medium, which means he has to stop again anyway. But that plan has been ruined just by that one little bit of contact.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, struggling there through Degner too. It's the problem with the circuit is it's fairly high downforce settings around here. You know, some circuits you'll get away with a little bit of end plate missing, doesn't really matter so much. Around here, I think you'll notice it massively compared to some other circuits. Brando and Ryan very, very close coming up to spoon.
Yeah, this is the battle for 5th, and what's interesting at the front, that looked like a twitch from Brando. It's going to bring Destiny back into play coming up to 130R. And all this is doing...
That inside wheel on the inside curb, and it just tried to drag around. So a good save once again from Brando, but yeah, he's having some better moments here in this race.
He is. He's luckily not outside the 1 second for DRS. We have a yellow flag. That looks like it's Sydney. Not quite sure.
Unusual place to go off there. There's whether he's lost it, whether he's touched the grass. Oh, and he's round again. This is not going well for the McLaren driver at the moment. He's just kind of calm himself down, reset a little bit. He's coming in the pits though, and I fear he's having potentially wheel issues here. This could be the end of Sydney's race.
Normally a speed in the pit lane followed by a DNF, not uncommon, but that does now mean we are down to 12 drivers. Finish the race, you score some points.
Yep, exactly that, and yeah, it's key now to just keep persevering. You know, it's very close. Everyone's on very different strategies at the moment.
Oh, that's a lunge from Brando Camalango into the hairpin. Oh, Destiny tries to find. That's a very late lunge. I don't think Ryan's going to be too pleased with that. Knock on the door from the RB. Brando, cling as you like. Destiny, a bit of contact in the middle of the move. But Destiny obviously trying to use Brando as a little bit of a barge to get through these cars without damage on the front wing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Destiny's doing a great job at the moment of keeping up with them in front on the basis, as you say, that he's got that damage. He's got good straight line speed compared to Brando. Is he going to make the move on the Red Bull driver into the chicane?
No, but Ryan's going to go down the inside, yeah. I was going to say, I don't think Ryan is going to be best pleased with the RB driver through the hairpin, so definitely looking to get back at him, but he's had a twitch coming out of the chicane. And he's got this train of 7-8 cars. Destiny to the outside. We'll get it turned in, keep it in bounds. That's good stuff from the RB driver. And this is just allowing Merck to get away here. And Attitude is in a bit of a nice place here because even though he's still got to pit, they're not exactly catching him at a rate because of the way they're fighting. And here comes Brando, a little switchback through Dunlop. He'll be on the outside for Degner. I think he'll give that one up. But they are looking to make moves in very unusual places.
Yeah, and the problem with this, you know, the two drivers at in the top 6 at the moment, they're on equal footing.
Oh, Gattuso's gone round. He made a late lunge on the Sauber of Ryan. I think there was a slight bit of contact. He went round, and Keza, unfortunately, this kind of luck of wrong place, wrong time, which he suffered on multiple Grand Prix, has struck him again. He had nowhere to go. He just had an Aston Martin in front of him.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, it appears that he has avoided any serious damage, so hopefully that is the case for the Haas driver. But yeah, the two drivers at the front of the field that are on equal footing are Merckx and Brando Camalango, but they have very different restarts here. Merckx managed to make his way through the field. Brando is 5 seconds pretty much behind the Mercedes of Merckx. And yeah, you'd have to think with the way Merckx sticking with Got Spooked and Beyond the Boar, unless there's a safety car, I mean, Merckx in an absolutely brilliant position here for the end of the race.
So, oh, that's a late lunge from Destiny on Ashtube. You get the feeling he might be getting called into the steward's office after this race, because that was an increasingly late lunge and there was definite contact. Oh, I think Ashtube just had a massive swapper. Just about held on to it though for grim death. But yeah, Destiny is showing sort of the aggressive side of overtaking at the moment. And I get the feeling he won't be on many people's Christmas card list as he runs wide through Degner 2.
Yeah, runs wide and gives Brando a chance. Brando just clipping the inside curve in the way to the hairpin though, nearly losing the back end as he hit the brakes. Yeah, Destiny's obviously feeling that his way forward in this race is to be ultra aggressive, maybe with that damage as you say. And yeah, he's having some interesting times with the kick sabers at the moment.
So you've got another Beyond the Burr fan, and we haven't really been focusing on this, but I think we're going to have to now with how close the top 3 are. Beyond the Burr is leading this race at the moment. Got Spooked under increasing pressure from Merck. Remember, Bjorn and Got Spooked still need to pit in this race. So in essence, Merck has a pit stop in hand over the pair of these.
Yeah, exactly. He's in a great position now. Oh, he's trying to go around the outside, but is he going to get boxed in though? And this is the problem he's having. I think he's going to get run around the outside of the Red Bull, and he does. He up to 2nd place, and I don't think it's going to be very long before he gets past Beyond the Boer either.
No, you get the feeling from Merck. He's going to play his cards sensibly here. Just wait for that main straight with the DRS and just have sort of the easy overtake into turn 1. But you get the feeling for Bjorn and Spooked here, with the way that Brando and Destiny were fighting, if they continue that sort of racing, they have a good chance here of being able to maybe make up positions back up to the podium with those fresher tyres later on in this race.
Yeah, definitely. Destiny is in danger of dropping out the back of Brando's DRS, and he has, I believe, now as they exit the hairpin. He's over a second behind. So this is what Brando needs. He needs this sort of clean air and that sort of lack of threat from behind, so he can focus on getting forward as much as he can. But Merckx is looking like he's going to get past Beyond the Boar into 130R.
Seems to like that move, and I think he gets the feeling that even with Bjorn getting DRS now down the main straight, he's going to have so much better grip out of the chicane. Although I say that, I didn't look as good as Spooks does come into the pits.
Oh,
here, 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Game over for the Red Bull. That's an interesting tactic from Beyond the Boer. He had DRS, he did not overtake. He decided just to stick in behind the Mercedes and almost Antonio Felix da Costa bump draft him.
I do wonder whether Bjorn is looking at this bigger picture, knowing he's not really in fighting. The thing is, he could sit there fighting and overtaking Merckx, but then it's just going to drag everyone behind back into the race. Maybe feeling that Merckx isn't in the same race as him at the moment, and his best way forward, and I believe probably a sensible way of approaching it, is to just focus ahead. Follow Merckx as much as you can, see if you can get some of the guys further back, and maximise his result at the end of the race by doing so.
Absolutely, especially with Brando 5.5 behind him at the moment. Destiny now losing time because of that front wing, and Destiny will fight his position here, which he has absolutely every right to do so, even with damage to the car. But they're going to drop off very, very quickly, to the point where if Bjorn goes long enough, he could come out with a much smaller gap than usual to this fight for what will be the podium.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised here to see as Beyond the Boy is now in the pit lane for what I believe will, I assume, well, he could be going softs here actually. He's done 14 laps already. No, he's going to the hard tyres. So yeah, hard tyres for Beyond the Boy. Obviously got a little bit of catching up to do now, but his tyre advantage is going to be massive for the guys in front. But yeah, I do wonder whether Destiny may be looking, and Scopefield are looking to drag these mediums a little bit further and maybe go to softs for those last sort of 8 or 9 laps.
And that was interesting. Beyond the Boa has come out with a 1.1 second gap to Got Spooked. He's increased that gap. So that says to me that Spook's outlap was not fast.
Oh. Yeah, and Got Spooked there catching the curve on the inside up through the S's, nearly losing the back end again. So he is really, really pushing that Red Bull. We know these hard tyres are tricky. But yeah, good news for Beyond the Board to gap Got Spooked, but obviously Got Spooked, as we know, has a 10-second penalty. So yeah, there's no real worries for Beyond the Board at the moment regarding the Red Bull driver.
You want the fight for third. Scopefielder has got ahead of Destiny, but he's not shaking off the RB. Well, I say that as the RB runs really wide, and Ryan almost gives Destiny a taste of his own medicine there by stuffing it back up the inside.
Yeah, good room left though there by the Kicksaver driver, plenty of room left, and yeah, Destiny looking to come back. The problem is here, these two don't want to fight too hard because it will give Scopefielder a bit of a gap ahead, so they've got to be a bit sensible about this, that they don't end up costing so much time that they both drop out of the chance of a podium. As actually here comes Destiny in the pit, so it'll be interesting to see what he changes to.
I mean, you have to think, he's got medium, this has to be for softs.
Yes, it would. I mean, it would probably be the best out at this moment in time.
It's a new front wing.
And a set of softs as well, so yeah, obviously it's not helpful having that new front wing is going to cause a lot of issues, but he's going to make up quite a lot of time on those. Oh, sorry, he's on hard tyres. Sorry, I thought he was on softs. Yeah, he has gone to hard tyres. So, yeah, interesting strategy with just 12 laps left.
Yeah, and to some degree, Beyond the Bow is going to be a little bit sort of sad to see Destiny going, because you kind of feel Destiny with that damage was Bjorn's ticket to catching up to these guys quite quickly with the time loss of the front wing. But obviously he's now released the likes of Scopefield, Orion, JP, Louis and Gattuso. I say Gattuso, he's right on the back of Gattuso, but that fight from 3rd to 6th, it's released them, so it's going to be a little bit harder now for the Williams to get up to the back of them.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I'm interested here, actually, Brando who had the 15-second penalty lingering over him going into this race, but at the moment you'd have to think Scopefielder is going to have to pit again. He's going to drop way back. Ryan has to pit. JP doesn't have to pit, but he's going to struggle maybe towards the end a little bit on those tyres, although they are similar to Brando's as well, as in comes Ryan now into the pit lane for his stop. I think Brando, despite that penalty, just purely because of how this race has gone so far, with the mixed strategies, he could actually still potentially bag a podium, I reckon, even with that massive penalty coming into the race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Beyond the Bow up into 6th place then. A free spot from Ryan, and obviously as good as a free spot from Gattuso with the DRS. Oh, got spooked, getting a little bit impatient. He's seeing Bjorn there, and he's basically thinking, I have to go with him, because he's going to lose a lot of time, and he's now 1.5 seconds behind Bjorn as Gattuso. So it's just a little bit of impatience getting in there from Gotspook, knowing that Bjorn's his ticket to get up to the field quicker.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that that move from Gotspook was slightly on the side of ambitious. Unlikely to get through there, especially from the position he was in. But yeah, he is pushing hard in this Red Bull to try and get past. But as you say, I think because of that contact that he made with Gattuso, that's probably now why the gap from Beyond the Boar is so big, because it's just slowed them both down.
You can also tell 16-lap-old hard tyres not giving Gattuso a lot of confidence come corner exit. I mean, and this Brando is in the pit lane.
Okay, so yeah, interesting
medium
stuff.
tyres.
Interesting stuff for the Red Bull driver. Got spooked, pulled out from behind Gattuso and then pulled back in on 130 before 130. I don't know if he's just got a slow car, straight line. So he was beyond the balls. That's the fastest lap of the race so far. Or whether or not he just wanted to get it done here instead, so he didn't get done. For some reason, bumping wheels down the straight, a bit unnecessary. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but yeah, interesting strategy, bumping wheels down the straight for no reason whatsoever.
Now here's a $1 million question for you. If Brando has felt the need to come in and put on some mediums, will Merc's tyres last?
Well, I mean, what was the gap? Was it about 5 seconds? Rings a bell?
5, 6 seconds, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, if Merc is going to come in, he'll have to do it probably within the next 4 or 5 laps. Otherwise, he'll get undercut. Having said that, it doesn't really matter because he has a 15-second penalty. But, yeah, it does make you wonder whether Merc will actually try and stay out on these tyres.
I'm more looking at Bjorn de Boer. Merc is in the pit, but I'm more looking at Bjorn de Boer. He does not have to pit anymore.
No, that is true. And also, you know who else doesn't have to pit at the moment? Is JP. I mean, could JP be on for a strategy masterclass, as does, I think, Louis doesn't have to pit. And here comes Louis, which will be for the race lead. Sorry, yeah, it will be for the race lead, sorry, yeah. So JP in second, Louis now in first. Got sweep with a 3-second penalty.
Merc not far behind Bjorn de Boer as he comes out of the pits, and he is on those medium tyres, but we know they're, compared to the hards, they're going to wear out a lot quicker. So this has become a very interesting race now, because Bjorn de Boer is catching the leading trio. We could have a bit of a showdown between a Williams and a Mercedes. The last time that happened, I believe, was it at Imola, and it didn't go well.
No, I mean, that is correct. But yeah, it's just, yeah, as you said, it's very interesting because Louis doesn't have to pit either. Louis doesn't have to pit, JP doesn't have to pit, Scopefield doesn't have to pit. You know, Beyond the Ball is potentially at the moment in a good position. Merc probably still in the best position with those tyres, but they're going to have to make their way through these 3 cars in front as well. So yeah, still a lot of work to do with just 8 laps remaining at the end of this one.
Yeah, I mean, you have to say, if you're one of the top 3, I mean, Scopefield are probably the only anomaly because he's on mediums. But if you're Louis or JP, you have to go to the end of this race. You have to give that a try.
I think now if they come in and pit now, there's no point. Big slide from Louis.
Almost a terminal into the pit wall end. Once again, I mean, the drivers put on a great show of car control tonight to save the cars from potential DNF situations. But that's not what Louis was looking for, and Scopefield behind. It's almost like he just looks like he's almost like biding his time, waiting for something to happen, almost like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that's the case or whether he really is clinging on for grim life on those tyres or not, because they're going to be struggling, I think, at this point in the race on those mediums. But yeah, fair play for him for trying to drag this out at the moment. But yeah, you know, they don't really want to be doing that too much because the guys behind are going to catch. I mean, Beyond was probably taking a second out of him now, I reckon, on that last lap. So yeah, I think, you know, probably end of lap 22, I think Beyond the Ball's going to be on the back end of this group in front.
And that's if Merc doesn't get past him first, because the Mercedes is chomping at the bit to get past the Williams, and it wasn't a good exit from the hairpin from Bjorn, lighting the rears up. You see, he's pushing hard. And it's quite interesting between the 2 Red Bulls now, because I believe Godspook's got 13 seconds worth of penalties, as here comes Merc to the inside of 130R, his favourite overtaking place tonight. Into the Casio Triangle, and 4th place. Normally we'd say the net race lead, but at the moment it's not looking that way as the lead is changing hands once again. Louis to the front of the pack. Question is, can he keep it this time?
Yeah, fingers crossed not too many more moments for Louis like he had at the final turn, but touching the inside curve, and that's a big moment, and he's going to do well to hold this. That's just touching that inside curve, but the car does not like it at the best of times, let alone on the hard tyres that are this worn. So, yeah, a bit of a disaster. Merck's going to be on the back of Louis very, very quickly. Beyond the ball, I think his best chance now is to follow Merck and hope that he has a little bit of trouble getting past the guys in front and can then capitalise on it.
Yeah, if Bjorn can keep putting pressure on Merck to the moment, that's the biggest thing he can do. But you can see now the top 5 in shot. But before all that was going on, I was saying the Red Bulls have got a bit of an interesting situation because I think Got Spooked has now got 13 seconds worth of penalties. Brando, we know, has 15 seconds worth of accumulated penalties from the previous round. So in reality, those two are scrapping for position.
Yeah, they are indeed, but probably actually in theory scrapping for what would be around 8th or 9th place at the moment as it stands. So, yeah, it's not where they want to be, especially after the start of the qualifying where they were on the grid. Merck now only 4 tenths behind Louis. Beyond the board just dropped off a little bit, but I think he's going to catch the back of the pack again a little bit now once they get going. But yeah, this could get very interesting and could potentially get clumsy. Merck's got to be careful getting through these guys in front.
Yeah, and JP 911, you feel like doing his teammate an absolute favour and a half here because he's holding everyone up. He's allowed Merck to get up close. And Merck, round the outside of Dunlop, he looks to the inside of Degner 1. No thinks better of it. He knows there's safer options to come.
Yeah, and it just allows Bjorn to catch back up to the back. He's going for a move on the inside into hairpin, going to go for the brakes. Going for the move. Louis going to have the inside line, but I think Merck's going to have much better grip exiting the corner. We've got a yellow flag. That is Destiny, I think, in the gravel. Yeah, on the S's, so not ideal for him.
Louis had a lot of wheel spin mid-corner on the hairpin, which allowed Bjorn the Boer to follow Merck through. He also locked the front left. It was unloaded, so it would be okay. And once again, Merck's favourite overtaking place up towards 130R. This time on the outside, and Scopefield just deciding, you know what? He hasn't got a hope to keep that Mercedes behind, so might as well just let him go.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be just to see now what happens here. And that's, yeah, Beyond the Ball, so much more grip than Scopefield on the exit of the chicane. It's going to be a move done now for Williams. I was going to say, will Merck just back up JP for the race win? But no, and I think Destiny's gone round again. He's currently rolling backwards down the hill in the gravel. Rejoins the circuit now. So yeah, I think his tyres may have seen better days.
Now, I think the big thing here is I think Merck will try not to pull away too much from JP. Because if they play the team game here and Merck continues to give JP DRS, Destiny is out.
Yeah, he's crashed in the wall. Yeah, he has crashed in a strange place. It's a virtual safety car. He's crashed
130
kind of on the exit of 130. I didn't see exactly what happened, but yeah, shame there for him. Obviously, he was still going to score at least a point.
Yeah, I think he maybe either just clipped the inside curb or got onto the AstroTurf on the outside. Because we know if you have a slight moment through 130R, the speed you're carrying, it does take you quite a long way down the track if you have a massive moment. So unfortunate there for Destiny. What I was referring to earlier was if Merck can keep JP in his DRS, but not have the threat of JP overtaking, Merck could still what would have been quite an unlikely 1-2.
Yes, definitely, yeah, and massive for the team as a whole in the Constructors' Championship. Oh, JP nearly going into the wall. I think we may be about to potentially go green here. Cracked on with it a little bit.
So they're all running to deltas at the moment, and JP obviously trying to make sure that that delta is as close to zero as possible to make sure he stays within a second of Merck on the restart. Gospuk has decided he's going to come into the pits. He's going to serve that 10-second penalty, I think. As DRS is now enabled, we are back to green flag racing. I don't think that's really helped Gospuk's chance there, but I don't know, Bruce, if you can have a double check of that, if he served that 10-second penalty.
I believe, just waiting for him to come out. He has indeed served that 10-second penalty. He still obviously has a 3-second lingering over him. But yeah, unfortunately, he's obviously coming now for the softs to try and get that fastest lap. But has dropped down the order somewhat.
Mercked the Sly Fox. You can see he went up to about 0.95 of a second. And you could just tell he's backed off a little bit to get JP within range. Question is, will it be enough to stop beyond the Burrows? Here comes Louis up towards 130R. That car is looking a little bit more comfortable on 19 lap old tyres than it was on about 5 lap old tyres.
Yeah, definitely. And yellow flag in sector 1. That
Keza.
is.
And we have a
Keza
safety car.
out. Wow.
Louis in, Brando in, Scopefielder is in.
Well, yeah, they'll be running to a delta anyway, so this won't change anything. Even though they managed to get into the pits before the other guys, this won't actually really change anything position-wise, because the guys that haven't come to pits will still be sat on a delta.
Brando has got into 4th.
No. Okay, so I lie, because the safety car has managed to pick up Mercked. So that means that normally what would happen, the safety car would come out, first few cars would get a pass, they'd all go around on the delta till then the leader catches up on the next lap. But Mercked has caught up with the safety car immediately, which means then now Brando and Louis, Brando obviously has that big penalty coming in. But this is a great chance for the likes of Louis and Scopefielder now, because if the top 3 come in, which I don't think they will now, I don't really know if they will do that. They're going to drop down the order so much, I think, the top 3, if they do.
The other question is that for those that have pitted behind as well, the likes of Ryan, Spooth, Ashtube, Gattuso, I'd be thinking they need to get on with this, because the safety car may well not wait for them to catch up on this occasion, because we do only have two racing laps left in this Grand Prix.
Exactly, yeah, and that's a good point, that JPH. In that case, there's no point in Mercked, JP, or Beyond the Boy coming in, because they'll just drop right to the back, because everyone's going to be at racing speed. So, yeah, they have no choice now. The top 3 have absolutely no choice but to stay out on these mediums, hards, and hards, with the chasing pack all on softs behind them.
I mean, surely you have to think they're going to have to hope that the safety car stays out for another lap. No, it is coming in this lap. So we're going to have 2 racing laps and 1 lap with DRS, as Louis was all on the grass going up towards 130 to avoid everyone.
Yeah, as we know, the game doesn't bring a safety car out with 2 laps to go, and it tends to release you with 2 laps to go. So yeah, this is all on Merck. Merck's in a decent position on those mediums, but yeah, how quick can the Brando and Louis get through the guys in front?
When does Merck go? He is going as late as he dares, as late as he dares. He goes now. Oh, JP's off in the wall. That's a front wing, lucky not to be a full retirement. But we are back to green flag racing, and it is Merck in the lead of this race. Ryan gets past Scopefielder. The thing is, Brando and Louis need to get past Beyond the Boer now if they want a chance at Merck. Through Dunlop we go. And you just see, I mean, what this has done is actually got Spooked. Serving that 10 seconds is a fantastic move from him, because now means even though he's got 3 seconds, he's got a better chance of keeping position to people. And here comes Brando on the flick up to the hairpin. Round the outside he goes. He's going to have the traction. He's up into second, but remember, he's got 15 seconds of penalties to come. Louis needs to get past Beyond the Boer, and he has to hope that Merck and Brando have a scrap. Scopefielder out wide through Spoon. He's going to lose position to Ashtube, I think. Yes, he does. They're going to be side by side. Meanwhile, Brando was side by side with Merck for a brief portion of time. What can Louis do in the background as well? What can Ryan do? He looks down the inside of Louis.
Yeah, that's not what Louis looking for. Louis wants that clear track to try and attack the guys in front. DRS enabled JPH, but it's useless.
Of course, yeah, because the detection point is before the start-finish line. So this is a natural end to the race. And Brando Camalango, I mean, at the moment, he's pretty much going to be 9th come the end of this race, courtesy of his accrued penalties. But beyond the Boer on those hard tyres, he's currently looking at P2 if he can hold off Louis. Through Degner's 1, Degner 2. The whole field bunched up, and you can see Scopefield in the background. That's 8th place, the top 8 in one shot. Something you don't normally see apart from in these, well, I say rare events, but they can happen quite often. What can Louis achieve? Through Spoon, you think he's going to have to have saved all of his ERS for this run up to 130R. Oh, it looked tight between Merckx and Brando. Merckx, I think, got a better run out of Spoon. And here we go. Louis to the inside of Bjorn de Boer. I think this is possibly done deal. Through 130R. No, Louis backs out a little bit to make sure he doesn't make contact. And he's actually going to lose a place in the process. Here comes Ryan down the inside. Contact between him and Bjorn. Meanwhile, Merckx crosses the line. He wins the Japanese Grand Prix from Brando and Louis. Ryan finishes 4th, Scopefielder 5th, Ashtube in 6th, Bjorn finishes 7th after all that. Got spooked as 8th, Gattuso is in 9th. JP911, I mean, probably showing the age of his tyres of 23 lap old hards at the start. But he will come home to claim 3 points on the board for him and his team. So it's whilst it's not the ideal result, it is a result.
Yeah, it's still points for JP, but yeah, Merckx once again, you know, up against it a bit on those tyres at the end of that race. But yeah, it comes like trumps again. He always seems to have an answer for the chasing pack, and yeah, obviously a fantastic result there for Louis, which will be obviously once the post-race penalties have all been applied, and the penalties applied for the previous race. That will be a 2nd place for Louis, and I think that's probably his best result of the season.
And there's the podium. For the first time in 3 races, we have a different podium to normal. Normally it's been Merckx, Lattis and Spooked. This time it's got Merckx, Brando and Louis, although I'm surprised they haven't kicked Brando off yet for his accumulated time penalties.
let him spray the champagne.
Vibes of Kimi Räikkönen at Mexico, that is.
Yeah, as you say, Merckx taken a fantastic win. Brando Camalango provisionally in 2nd. That will change, we know that. Louis in 3rd with Ryan finishing 4th. Scopefielder 5th, Ashtube 6th, Beyond the Ball 7th, Gottesbeek 8th, Gattuso 9th, JP, the last classified finisher in 10th, with Keza, Destiny, Sydney and Joe Hamster all DNF in. But yeah, a pretty chaotic final chicane to that racer.
Yeah, Brando also taking fastest lap, so he's going to get an extra point for that. But let's talk about that final chicane. Ryan, I mean, it was obviously a move on Louis, but possibly just outbraking himself so much that he's obviously then collected the back of Bjorn de Boer.
Yes, and obviously Louis, you'd have to say from what I could see, I was looking back from the cars in front, but you'd have to say that Louis could kind of almost see it coming, gave himself enough space that he could sweep round the outside of them and retake that 3rd place on track. So yeah, smart stuff from Louis. You know, obviously nothing malicious, easy mistake to make to outbreak yourself, especially when it's like that frantic at the end of a race. Yeah, big shame really that it did come to blows at the end, but yeah, that happens in racing sometimes. And as I say, when it's that frantic, there's always a high risk of something like that happening.
So hopefully we might get Merckx and Louis in, and because Brando did finish on the podium, we'll get a write-up from him as well. Obviously, whilst we know he won't be staying there provisionally, that is where he has finished. It was a good race from Brando in the end. Obviously, most of it in vain, but you have to give credit for the attempt there, and unfortunately that safety car just came at the wrong time for him.
Yeah, definitely. It was not the best timing, unfortunately. But yeah, these things happen sometimes, don't they? And so they tend to come back around in the future. So yeah.
And we do have Louis joining us for a post-race interview. So we will talk with him now. Hopefully we'll get Merckton as well, although I think Merckton may give us a write-up instead. But Louis, third place provisionally on paper for you. Congratulations. We know that's going to change even prior to any stewards investigations. But it's fair to say you were in the thick of most of the racing tonight and taking those hards quite a long way. But it looked like you had more grip with the older hards than it did the newer hards.
Yeah, it was quite. It was all right for the first kind of stint, to be honest. And then obviously the hards probably would have went to the end, but the front left was kind of hanging on for dear life towards the end. So the safety car was quite nice and quite lucky when it came out, so I could just nip in. But I think I think the setup I went with wasn't really catered for overtaking. It was more just downforce orientated, which meant that like I was quite quick in the first and middle sector, but obviously in traffic, and you can't really overtake in first and middle sector unless someone makes a mistake. So it was kind of just trying to hang on to the top 4 or 5 and just hope to like capitalize on a few mistakes, which obviously the last lap had its fair share, I should say. Sorry. So yeah, it was all in all a good race, but it'll be interesting to see the final standings. Obviously, it will chop and change quite a lot.
Absolutely, and as you say, that last corner, that the Casio triangle, just explain that one from your perspective, because it looked like obviously Ryan was going for a move on you, and it just kind of all went wrong because of how bunched the pack was.
Yeah, so I went to go up the inside to go and try and jump to P3, but I took too much curb in 130R and lost all my momentum. So it was that point I was just kind of like, I'll stick to my line and just, you know, hope that I could keep my position. And then I seen that Ryan sent it from quite far back, so I just kept to the left to avoid it, essentially, because I knew he broke really late, and obviously he broke it up the inside, so it was his line. But and then obviously we were all really bunched together, so I was kind of expecting the inevitable, which was to make contact to the car in front, which obviously they both span. And then obviously I went off track, and I had 2 warnings at the time, so I was quite terrified that I would just get 3 seconds. So I kind of crawled back on and tried to hook the inside, and luckily didn't get a penalty. But yeah, it was quite a lot going on the last corner, or last 2 corners. So I'm just quite happy to come out of it alive, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. Bruce, do you have any questions for Louis?
Yeah, obviously you've had good pace this year, and you've sort of been threatening these sort of results pretty much week in week out. I think after penalties from the last race we played tonight, you'll probably be second, I believe. Do you feel these are this is a deserved result, something you've been building up to all season, and something you can maybe carry on now to the end of the season?
Yeah. Last season was I think my first season in Tier 1, so it was kind of just see how it settles and see where I stand roughly in terms of pace and stuff. And obviously a new game, everyone has their opinions on it, and it obviously isn't brilliant, but I've kind of adapted to it all right. I've put a lot of practice in, to be fair, and I knew my second season in Tier 1 I kind of wanted to push myself, and being around the top 4 is quite nice, and it's more just kind of building on that and trying to actually attack maybe the top 3 if I can, because I feel as though I'm just happy to be where I am, so I'm not really probably pushing myself as much because I'm a bit skeptical, but I'm just quite happy with my overall pace, and hopefully I can, like you say, build on that, and the results will show, hopefully. So I'm quite happy with it.
And just a fun thing, obviously, with tonight's result, you're going to move up into second in the standings. Obviously, Merck's quite a long way up front. While it's not impossible, we all know how quick Merck is. But you're going to have the likes of JR Lattis, Got Spooked, Scopefielder behind you. It looks like this is going to be a really I say tough, but a really big battle throughout the second half of the season to get that second place secured. obviously barring any possible mistakes from Merckx at the front.
Yeah, I feel as though I've bared in mind the fact that like attendance can obviously affect things as well. Like I've not really missed a race, so that kind of helped. But obviously, I'm not trying to like make excuses and stuff. Like I'm still trying to at least get as far up the leaderboards as I can on merit. Obviously, there is a lot of quick guys still. Like obviously, Spooked and Lattice, like you say. So, and with Merckx being notoriously away all the time, I would like to try and eat into that a little bit. But obviously, he's just really comfortable and quite used to it by now. So hopefully, some of us can try and unsettle that. But we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. They do say if you want to put up a really good championship challenge, you have to come to every single race which you are doing. So congratulations on your podium tonight, Louis, and we look forward to seeing you next week for round number 7. Merckx has joined us for his post-race interview, so welcome to the interview room, Merckx. First of all, congratulations. Another win under your belt. 6 from 6, if I remember correctly. It's pretty much all going to plan right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think 6 from 6. It obviously doesn't get better than that. Some of the races have obviously been more difficult than others. Japan isn't exactly my favourite of tracks, but I think I got a bit fortunate with traffic, and then obviously this at the end having brand new that close to me. I think I just knew I needed to save as much ERS as possible, which managed to work. So yeah, no, it's been going well so far.
So, just obviously one thing with your season. Obviously the race pace and the racecraft has been substantially very, very good. However, we've noticed obviously your qualifying pace is not that as last couple of years. Is that just something with the game in terms of getting that extra little bit out of the car, or obviously tonight you had a massive advantage over everyone, but generally speaking, this season you've been sort of second or third row potentially during the majority of the races. Is it just a game thing, or is it just maybe not hooking the laps up?
I think it's definitely more a game thing for me this year. Qualifying's never really been my speciality. I've always been a lot better in the race. Being able to extract, every bit of performance in one lap is never always easy. But yeah, no, this year's game hasn't been great for me quali-wise. So yeah, I think it's just one of those. I know that my race pace is good enough, and I can use strategy and everything else to my advantage. So yeah, I'm not really too bothered about qualifying, to be honest. As long as I'm not qualifying right at the back, we should have no issues.
So yeah, Bruce, do you have any questions for Merckx?
Yeah, obviously looked all in control tonight until that late safety car put you on a bit of pressure. But with JP behind you, we did notice just before the safety car, it looked like you were trying to maybe not pull away too much to give him as much of a tow as you possibly could to try and protect him from the guys behind. But was that the case, or were you planning on just trying to sort of check out of there and crack on with it before that late safety car?
Yeah, no, I wanted to keep JP close. I wanted, obviously, the 1-2 for Mercedes, but unfortunately it didn't work out way. But yeah, I wanted to pull him along, and I knew at that point I had the tyres advantaged than everyone else behind. So if anyone else did get through and I couldn't keep JP in second, I knew I would have still been in a pretty good position.
And obviously, normally we ask you about like the second half of the season, but we pretty much know your answer right now, which is continue winning races and obviously win the championship. So I'm going to go back to the race and talk about Bjorn de Boer, because obviously he's come back to the league, which is a great addition to this Tier 1 pack. Obviously a very quick driver. Were you a little bit worried at times of his strategy, because obviously you came out behind him, he managed to make that sort of one stop sort of pay dividends for him. I mean, were you a little bit afraid of what he might have been able to do if you were to stick in your DRS area and have a bit of a scrap with you?
I mean, I knew obviously he was going to go on the hards, and to be fair, I wasn't going to pit. It was only because Brando pit that I wanted to try and get the fastest lap. So I kind of knew, obviously, with Bjorn pitting a lap earlier before me, that he'd probably come out ahead. But I was pretty confident. I think I kind of knew he wasn't really going to fight too hard. He would have probably been more happy to try and just follow me and try and get to the rest of the lads at the front.
Obviously, you're referring to Brando there. Did you know about his 15 seconds coming into this race? And if you didn't, obviously you do now, but if you did know about it, would that have changed any of your decisions?
No, I didn't know that. But yeah, I always want to win on track, whether someone's got a penalty or not. It's not the same feeling finishing second and then getting first by someone having penalties. So yeah, I always try and win outright. So yeah, but yeah, no, I didn't know he had a penalty for this race.
So, well, Merckx, congratulations, the perfect record still intact for this season. Another victory for you, and we look forward to seeing if that can continue for round number 7. So congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much.
Just a little write-up from Brando Camerlengo himself, obviously finishing P2 on track. He said it wasn't the best qualifying session for him, honestly, only P3, knowing that he could have done better. The race started pretty well when the safety car came out and he went into the pits to put the hard tyres on. Unfortunately, he didn't know what happened and his car spun without hitting the throttle, so he had to recover everything. But on the whole, his race was good but not perfect. He had a good battle with a lot of drivers, especially Merckx, with whom he battled in the last lap for the win, but in the end, he won. So there's Brando's take of tonight's race. And Bruce, that's 50% of this season done, and it looks like from second down we've got one hell of a fight.
Yeah, definitely. As anyone realistically, in this race or in this group of drivers could get that second place in the championship and are capable of podiums. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to say at the moment it's looking pretty ominous for everyone else regarding Merck's lead, and in turn, that's going to translate into probably good news for the constructors as well for the Mercedes team. So yeah, a lot of work for the other guys to do. You'd have to say that no one is that far off the pace of Merck, but he just seems to always have an answer week in, week out, and trying to find out how to reply to that, I think, is going to be key now for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and obviously next week we go to Canada, and that's because you'll know, and it's an absolute belter of a track. I don't think there's anyone that doesn't enjoy Canada, other than the track limits of Canada.
Yeah, it's a great circuit to drive. If I remember rightly from my experience of the track on this game, it's very, very slippy. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a lot of action next week. But yeah, looking forward to that one. As you say, it's a bit of a fan favourite, it's a driver favourite, and it does normally provide some pretty spectacular action.
And we are all back on track now with IRL in terms of where we are with each championship, and it does return. Everything returns next week. Tuesday we have the Tier 2 Canadian Grand Prix, and then after that we have the likes of Tier 1 on the Wednesday, RP on the Thursday, obviously not streamed at present, but they are still racing in the background. But just a recap of the remainder of the calendar, we go to Canada next week, followed by Hungary. Saudi Arabia is round 9. 10 is Portugal, and that's a sprint evening. The 11th round is at the Dutch Grand Prix, and Australia, in terms of IRL, in its old place of sort of last of the season, which used to be the way back in like the 1990s. So it'll be interesting to see how that finishes off. But for myself and Bruce tonight, thank you for watching. This has been the Invictus Racing League Tier 1 from Japan. We've hoped you've enjoyed it. If you have, press the like button on the stream and also subscribe to the Invictus Racing League YouTube channel so you don't miss another live race for the rest of the season. As I say, Tier 2 and Tier 1 all streamed all season. It's going to be a belting second half of the season to come. But from us, thank you for watching. Have a good night.